ivory and grey. I'll leave them there. Now, to start with, we use the grey. What we want to do is very, very lightly put some grey here. You might just be able to make that out on the reference picture. Follow that down and on the nose, this side of the nose. In a minute, this is where the colour shaper will come into its own. On the other side, same idea. Just a little bit of grey in there. There's a very bright light area there. So it might pay you just to put just a little more white in that bit. And again, follow down on the other side of the nose. This is a shadow area, right? Now there are other areas, so let's do them too. There's some, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that side. I'll have to do this side. And this is where we can start thinking about filling up that line. This won't work unless you've got a good application of the white on. And another area is here. I think you're going to be very surprised when I show you what this looks like in a minute. But I'll have to carry on here before I can show this to you. There's also just a little bit, but not much here. It just gives contour to the picture. And I shall be doing the same thing over here in a minute. But I want to show you the ivory. That's the ivory that is key here. The ivory goes on top of the grey, making it more creamy. And that. Right, and now we use the colour shaper. Clean it off first though, get all that black off. And I use my finger, or my thumb, to get it off. Don't wash them. If you wash that, you'd have to wait for it all to dry. And I don't wash these at all, I just use my finger. Makes my fingers dirty, but you can wash them later. So there we are, nice and clean. Now we use the colour shaper to blend that in. Don't worry if you feel that it's too strong, because we can put the white back. Now let me now show you how we can sort this out. Now it's actually the shadow comes right up to there, so the white actually now can be brought down into the area we left. See, like that. And you can carry on with that, making it look really attractive. Come by the side of that. You can always repeat it, put the grey on again and the ivory on again, but what we're left with is that. See? Magic, isn't it? Now let's carry on here a little bit more, because we can, then I'll do this bit, a bit light bit there, some light up there. What I'm doing now is cutting into the shadow that I did, giving it down there. There's quite a strong white that comes from there down there. I may have to put just a bit more shadow on that, but you can see using your finger is ideal for this. See how that contour is coming? And here again, now we bring that down, but we've got a dark area there and under here too, so let's do that. What do I do first? Right, I think what we'll do, we'll fill it up like that, very lightly, and then we put the grey on like that. That gives it. That's it. Let's do the same thing on here. You don't have to put too much pressure on the white, otherwise you'll lose the reference. We've got that in there and that in there like that. I'll let's do one side. Now this bit here, you've got to decide which is the lighter. The lighter is there, this is the darker. So what we do, we make it just a little more of it. It's a bit complicated, but once you get the idea of this, you'll find it works really well. The grey, following on from there. And ivory. Blend it. Now that you've got that there, we can now fill this in, because we know where the light and the dark is. Just extend that just a little more. I hope that hasn't been too complicated for you to follow. And in there. You can even, when you've done that, even use a little bit of 175, which we were using, and put that in just a little to make that just that little stronger. And maybe a bit of ivory as well. If you haven't got a colour shaper, you'd have to do it with the pastel pencils. But now we need to brighten that up a little more. There we have a use your finger just to finally put that in like that. Now I'm going to do that all the way around there. Okay, so you can watch me and I'll show you again how I'm doing it. So keep my finger in there. just a little more. You've got all the clues on your, well, you'll be looking at my reference, but all the clues will be here. You've just got to follow the technique that I'm giving you. But you can see how nice that is. So once I've done that, then we'll come back, we'll do the nose. But you could, once you've got that far, you can then, if you want to, and I think it's a good idea, come down with the fur. As far as you want to go, I think probably a good idea would be to start this off. And this bit here, between. Because we've got the black in there. And I'm going to do it, but you don't have to, is to come down with the grey as well, like I showed you before. Mapping that out so that you get the idea of where that's coming down here. And again, I wouldn't do too much more than that, but you can see how it's beginning to form and to look. The thing we've got to be careful of though, if we don't make that dark enough there, just there, when we put the white whiskers on, which we're going to have to do, they're not going to show up. So you've got to be, let's just show you what I mean by that. If you make that just a little stronger, I did say that you probably need a couple of applications to get this as you want it. Remember, grey, ivory are the two key colours. You won't necessarily anything darker than that. And then use your colour shaper or your finger, that would work as well. I'll show you. Don't worry that you might have made it too dark there, because you can come back with the white and reevaluate that. But when you put the whiskers on, we'll be able to see them across there. And we've got a background here with a cracking background I'm going to show you, so it will show up. Okay, I don't think I need to go any more. I'm going to follow this through as I've showed you there, and down to about here, and then we'll drop back and finish this off and the nose off. Now for the nose, I've just started putting the white on, as you can see, and I've left a trace of the paper through there. And the other thing I've done is put just a little spot of grey in the nostril areas. Okay. And in that little division there wouldn't be a bad idea too. Now the next colour we're going to use is the pink. Now this pink would be too strong normally if you put it on raw, but because we're putting it on top of the white, you see how subdued it is. Same movement, round and round and round and round. And this can be general to start off with. And that's about all I would want at the moment. It's quite a light nose. It's not on the picture, it's quite light. And then we can use a colour shaper, clean it off. That would be fatal, wouldn't it? Put a bit of black on it and just clean it off. I've shown you how to do this, I think, already. If I haven't, then this is what you do. You use your finger or your finger and your thumb to get rid of it. Don't try to wash it off, otherwise you've got to wait for it to dry for one thing. And I've never washed them. Let's get rid of all the traces of the dark colour. There we are. And now we can just push that in. Now, as I said before, if you haven't got one of these, you're not going to be able to do this. But what you could do is this. You could use a white pencil and use the white pencil. I've got two whites, you probably gather, little and large. Now you see, the same system. You can get it nice and that way. Okay, now we've got to darken it. And this is, I'm going to restrict us to the 175 for the darkening of this. A bit more careful now, though. That's quite dark. But what I've done, what I want to do is to use the pink, come back again, on top of it. I'm losing the shape slightly. But it will work out, folks, don't worry. I've done it before. It's a little bit of grey now to put on the side, give it just a little bit of three-dimensional aspect, and down the bottom also will be in shadow. Now the pink comes back in. Now this time it goes on top of the 175. 175 being a dark sepia is a warm colour, so you can do this with it. Now again, I've lost the shape slightly, so back with the white, and that can then be used again like almost like a blender to blend it and shape the nose like that. That's the top. It's not quite right across the top there yet, but it will be. And it's lovely. And now a couple of little slightly stronger white there and there, because that's where the light's hitting it. And you see, like that. A bit of tarting up to be done there. And just a little tiny bit more. It's a bit like the eyes. Once you put the dark in, you can just use the lighter colours just to fashion it. Now this is what I don't like, so what I'm going to do is fuse the top of that by putting the white on, and I want to lose that line. That's lovely. Okay, I think I'm more or less there. I'm just going to put a little bit of shadow on the side here, on the side there, and then I think I'm going to leave it alone. It's best to leave it. If you overdo this, it's going to be spoiled, but leaving it like that is absolutely fine. Okay, let's move on. Now I'll pull back because I want to show you how I'm going to finish this off now. Now when you get to a portrait, you've got two choices with an animal. You can either bring it down like that and cut it off there, which I've done many, many times. It would work. But what would look nice here is making it into like mixed with the background. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Let's show you. It's better to show you than try to explain it to you. Bring back the white. Let's go and just do this little bit, this corner, then I can fill it up. Again, following the direction that we see the hair. I've still got work to do up here yet, but we can do that once we've got all the white in. And then bring the white back over there like that. And on this side, we've got the grey. Like that. Now it's going to look a bit scruffy until I get the background on. But what I'm going to do is finish it like that. Now we can bring the grey back into the white and the white into the grey. What we're trying to do is to do something like that. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. And because I'm changing this anyway, I can do my own thing when it gets to this. Just put your finger on just to blend that in like that. And then we come to the black. Now the black, because we've got the grey underneath, the black is never going to be that strong. And to start off with, I'm going to make it quite light, like that. Not quite as strong as that yet, but I will, as I move further down to here, put a little more pressure on the black. And that can then be pulled into the white. There we get the lovely transition between the black and the white. And over here, now I've got white on that edge, and the reason I did that is because the picture shows a light-ish, a bit like the top. Well, you can't see that, but up there, okay, same sort of idea. It also puts a nice design in it, I think, and separates it. And that can come in like that. It doesn't have to be perfect white. In fact, it won't be, because I'm going to put the black and the grey into it. And then black into it, but not too strong. I try and imagine that it's fur. Now I've made that a little stronger than it is on the picture, but I've done that deliberately to balance the picture up nicely. Okay, now colour shaper. A lot of work to be done here in a little while, but you've got to get the foundation in before you can do that. And we can drag some of that dark into the white, and we'll be doing it the other way round. Put a bit of pressure on this so that you attain what the fur-like look that we're looking for here. You'll be very surprised when I put this background on here, just how nice this is all going to look. Now that's not bad. Do I want it darker? Well, I think I do a little, simply because of what I said before. I want to try to balance it up, but I want it by degrees. I don't want it too strong. I think that will probably be fine. Right, that's it. I've got another little bit down here to do in a little while. So I'm going to finish this off the same way. But what I shall do, to show you again what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to come to, I'm not worrying too much about this bottom because that is going to be faded into the background. But as I come down here, I'm going to change direction slightly so that when I get over here, I'm doing that. Got me? Anyway, I'll show you little bits of that as we go along. But that's going to be filled in. Then we're going to come back and put a few little details here, which is on the reference picture. I'll show you how to do that. And then, well, you'd think, well, we'll put the whiskers on. Well, that doesn't go on until we put the background on. Now, there's obvious reason, because if you look at the picture, the whiskers go over the background. So if I put the whiskers on, I'm going to rub them out with my finger when I do the background. So we can't put those in yet. I could put those in, but I think it's best to do it all at the same time. Patient job and all that. So let me do that. Okay, now finish the white. Now to put some of the ivory in. What we wanted to do is to paint a version of that. It's not going to take long to do, so I'll show you all of this. Following the same idea though, like that, like that, like that, and then over here, coming from that angle. The other colour I put in, and I've never showed you this, I put a little bit of pink in, but it's very little. It's just, you probably hardly see that going on, but it is. It pretties it up, which is the whole object of the exercise here, to make it attractive. Now, the other thing that I will tell you, that the pink and grey work really well together, and I haven't had a chance of showing you this yet, but I can now. Like that now. So just blend that in with your finger, or a colour shaper, whichever you prefer, but I prefer my finger. Still same idea though, following the direction that we see. Now that's fine. Now the grey works in conjunction with the pink, but it also puts a shadow, which we need here on this side. And do this in little bits. You don't want to do too much, otherwise you'd have to put the white back on. Do I like that? A little bit more. When you've got an expanse like this, you've really got to do something to make it more interesting. I started off here, put a little bit more ivory as well, and perhaps a little pink. And that, see what that looks like. Oh, that's nice. Good. Okay, well, I think I've got really what I want there. Now, these areas, let's just pull this across here so you can see what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to be doing. Let's tuck it in there. All right. Grey first of all. Now, you see the angle that we've got these? That's following the fur direction. So we've got to work the same thing. We can't do them all straight. They look odd. So let's put the first one in. Be tentative to start with. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's number 2. Doesn't have to be, folks. You can do what you like here. It doesn't come very far down. There's another one there. It's not quite so long. Let's put that in. Another one in. Comes to the corner here. Put that one in. Don't draw these on the. They won't be on the line drawing, because if otherwise you'd have a graphite mark coming through. There's another one there. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 series. So let's put another one in, coming at an angle like that. And there is one, this one here can also be included in that, like that. Right, now, first thing we do is to use the colour shaper. Get rid of the black. You might find this a bit tedious, but believe me, it's the only way. Actually, I don't mind just a tiny little bit of black on the end of there, because I can use that. And then you use that to blend it out. Now it's almost there, isn't it? Do we need it any more? Well, let's see what the finger will do, because that will... No, that's just about perfect. You don't need to do anything else than that. So there we are. That's done. If you were fussy, which I am, of course, what you can do is put just a little white in here. And the idea is then it makes this just that little bit more of a depression in the fur. Don't have to do it, but I like it. Small things like that can make a difference. There we are. So that's it. Now, what's next? Well, what's next is I think we're going to have to do some work here. I'm using this smaller white simply because it's easier for me to handle. Now, although I'm not going to put any whiskers on, I'm going to try to replicate this area here, right? And I can do it with the small white going over the top of the grey. You can do this with a finger or a colour shaper. But it's a feature which I quite like on the animal. And we can stop when we get to there. Now what we can also do is this idea. How do you do that? Well, you bring it back, bring the white back. We can't really do it up there because it doesn't show very much on the... Well, having said that, it does. You could, if you really feel... Now, don't do this if you're in any way hesitant, but it is possible to do what I've just done down here. What about the other side? Well, there's a little... I'm using the side. You can see, if you look at the nib, you can see that I'm actually using the side, not the point. These are finishing touches that if you feel like doing them, do them. Actually, I'd do them anyway, even if you felt a bit hesitant, because you can always just rub with your finger or put some more black on. But I think that makes a really big difference. So there we are. That's basically the cat finished, apart from the whiskers, and we can't do that, as I said, until we put the background on, which is the next thing we're going to be doing. Now, how do you do backgrounds? People find this really, really hard, putting a background. I'm going to pull out again because you want to see the whole thing. Now, the background. We're going to use the greens. You see, this is a lovely background. I like that. So I'm going to do a variation of the thing. But if you look at the picture, you can see touches of ochre in it, dark green and this sort of mid-green. And you would suppose that you'd put green directly on. But that doesn't work, folks, because if you did that, it would be too hard. A bit like I've done with the picture, I've always cushioned the effects, which gives you a lovely soft finish. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the ivory on. This is a long job, so I'm not going to bore you. I'm just going to do a little bit to show you how it's going to work. And what we're looking for here is a nice even coat. Now the danger here is if you overdo it, it's going to weaken the effect of the greens that we're going to be putting on. So that's about right. Blend it with your finger. It doesn't matter too much if you touch the subject, because we're going to be redoing that. There we are. Now that is perfect. I'm going to do that all over. So come back when I've done it, and then I'll show you the next colour. Okay, there's the so far, so good. Now I've left this because I wanted to show you how this works. Same approach. And just before you get up into that corner, just make sure that you've got a nice, even colour. That's good. Carry on. There you go. Remember, we've got lots more colour to put on here yet. Now this is, it's more difficult on the darker colours than it is the lighter ones. So let me start off with that. What you do is you go in between the two, right? Now there's two things you can do. You can either use your finger, like that, or you could use the colour shaper. And I think I'm going to use my finger, but if you're in any doubt at all, use a shaper. What we're looking for is to drag some of this colour back in to the ivory and some of the ivory into the grey, and what we get is that fusion. Now it's not easy, but as you can see, it's possible. Same thing happened down here. Just a little bit of blend. Here it's not going to show up so much until we get the other stronger colours on. But the same principle applies. But I think you get some idea of what this is going to look like when we finish. One other tip, be careful. I'm fine, but you see that little bit of wood, you may be able to pick it up. Now, if that touches the paper, it will score it. So the answer is, don't let it touch the paper. Sharpen it before you get that far. I'm using the other side, so it doesn't matter. Blend again, and again go into the white. Don't go too far into it, you just need the edges. And there we are, we've got a nice blend. Looks good, but it's going to look better. Now, the next operation, we don't want the white, Colin, put that away. I'm going to use the lightest of the greens. This is 140. And it's a good idea to do a bit of experimenting. So let's experiment up in this corner. This is different to the ivory. The ivory went on as a solid colour. This one, I don't want that to happen. I want it to have 2 or 3 colours mixed together. There's the first one, and the next one is a little slightly darker green. Not much, but it's just a little stronger. And there's a darker still. Now this is 173. It is quite strong. I used it in the eye. Just a little bit green. Now what we've got to do is make sure that we go up into the corner. So let's use a darker green for this. You're never really sure how much I'm going to actually show on my picture if I frame it or mount it. So I like to get right up into the edges. Like that. 173 as well. Now my finger will do the rest. Blend it. Now that's not too bad. It's coming up, but you see it's slightly streaky. And the reason for that is it's pastel matte paper doesn't like a minimum amount of pastel on it. It wants more. So all you do is do it again. Same idea. Second coat. 168. And I'm going to put a little bit of ochre in it as well this time, just a touch, and blend it. That's a much better, but it's still got slight streakiness to it. So what's the answer? Do it again? Well, yes, you could. The more you do, the better it's going to be. But what I would do is come back with the ivory again. Now, ivory is a natural blender anyway. So if you put ivory on top of that, that will help you. You'll see quite a big difference now between the two. And we've still got another coat to do altogether. Press quite hard with your finger so you get that really nice and smooth. There you go. That's what we're looking for all over. And then we'll come back and we'll start again. But this time we'll be using a lot stronger. Well, let me show you now. This next coat will be a stronger application and a stronger colour. Once again, right up into the edges. Remember, the more pastel you put on, the less streakiness you'll have, and the deeper the colour. Let's go to the bottom again. Now, I'm not going to show you all of this, just this bit. Turn it round. Blend that. This time, you see, we've got some little bit of cloudiness coming into it. That's because we've used a darker colour. And if we use this one, it'll be even stronger. Like that. So you keep going until you get what you're looking for. And what I'm looking for is that. So I'm going to carry on. It's going to take me a while to do, as you can imagine, but it's going to look great when it's done. And I'll show you little bits of this as we go along. Now we've got this bit, which is quite a tricky bit. However, watch how I do it. Plenty of pastel on here. We don't want to do this twice, but you shouldn't have to, because you can be working from up here as well. This is 170. Well, I'll do half of it, and then you can see, and then we can do the other half. You can see how it looked before and after. This swirling is the key to this, because we're going into the white here, remember, and into the grey. I mean, I suppose that you could leave it like that. I don't like that, but it would be easier if you did, instead of trying to combine it. This is 168 now, going in. Now, the 173, which is the dark one, I wouldn't put too much of this on. I like it on the corners more than I do up in here, but a little bit. And then the ochre, 183. Now, what we do is blend that. You see there's plenty of dust on there. Well, this is the key to this. That dust will go right into the paper, apart from what's on your finger. There's not on that, a lot on that, as you can see. So there we are now. As I said, you could leave it like that, but I'm not going to. Now we interfere with the white and the black. And that goes one way, then you go another. White again. Where's my white? Here we are. There's the white. White goes in, comes from here. Let's do the white first. Now, you do get some and some. But that's what I'm looking for. Now the black's more difficult, but still possible. Now, first of all, a little bit of grey. And a little bit of black. Turn it round, and then do the same thing again. You wouldn't think it would work, would you? But it does. And there we have the transition between all of them. Now I think that looks very attractive. It's like coming out of a cloud. You can imagine what that's going to look like. Well, I'm going to show you. Whoop, wrong one, Colin. No, it's the right one. 170 and 168 look very much like. Come up into that as well. Whatever you do, don't leave any pastel paper showing through, because that really would spoil the illusion. Once again, you see how much dust I'm creating? One 168. See, it's not uniform. I don't do it everywhere. I do it in random design. Just a touch of 173, but not much. This is the green. It doesn't look green there, does it? But it is. And the ochre, 183. And then leave the dust on. Probably a good idea to tap that so it drops away a little bit. And we blend. With that, and then with the white, going the other way. Just a little bit of grey and a little bit of black. It's not much there, but I think we make it just a little more. A bit of black. And then your finger does the rest. Now that looks really nice. There's a couple of things I'm going to add a little bit of ivory in here. I've put some in here. Well, let's put some more in. Not much, I think just a little. And let's put some more white in as well. There. In fact, we could put some more white in. Thing is, play with it a little bit until you get what you want. That looks really nice. Well, now what I'm going to do is make you think the whiskers, wouldn't you? Well, I'm going to leave the whiskers for the moment because what I want to do, I want to go over the edges. Let me show you what I mean. Well, in fact, I'll sharpen my pencil up. That's a spare white I had, but I'm going to sharpen this one up and we're going to start putting the edges back because the background would have affected that a little. So let's put the edges back with the white, the black and probably the grey as well, those three. Now I'm starting up here, reinstated that light edge to the ear, and then we'll work our way down. What you're doing is picking up anything that might have been left over with the background. That's good. A little bit of white in here. And again. Now I'll turn it around the other way. And we come into here. I think probably what I'll do here is make it, use the grey. Maybe a little white as well. I want that to be a little lighter. That's nice. Stop there. But it would be wise to bring that in, otherwise it just looks a bit foreign if it's just on the edge. That's nice. That's nice. And this is nice too. That's one side done. Now I've got to move this round because what I don't want to do is touch the picture. So come in with black. Again, I was very careful when I did this edge, so you shouldn't have very much background colour on it. But it's just as well to go over it. I think it would have to be white again. where the lights caught the top of the head. Yes, that's better than grey, because otherwise if you put the grey on it would be less of a contrast. Right, and this is same again, white on the edge, and that goes all the way down to the bottom, believe it or not. Well, mine is anyway, like that. And around here, turn the corner. And then we've got the black. Taking over. Till we get to there. Now here, you saw the other side. It's a good idea to make it look like fur rather than just a line. It looks much more natural. Just like that. And then the white takes over. Get down here, it's just a little more hair extends because the hair's longer. I'm twisting the pencil around as I do this, and it keeps the point then. Nearly there. And black, I think, will come from there. I'm using black as opposed to grey because of the contrast. Get to there, and then I'd stop. Now the other thing is these hairs go on top of that. So a little bit of white now. And we'll call that finished. There. Well, it's not quite finished. Got whiskers to do. Now I'm going to sharpen this up because we really do need a sharp point for this. And then I'll come back and we'll put the whiskers on. Whiskers. Now you see we've got a few up there, so let's do a few of those first. The secret of this is to be very positive and zip them in like that. Don't draw them in, don't try. It won't work. And it'd be nice if we can get a couple going round the eye, wouldn't it? There's a couple going through the eye. That's nice. If it goes a bit long, all you do is just take a little bit off the end like that. That's great. I don't think I want any more. Now the other side, now it's always a good idea to work with natural angle of your hand. So let's put this away now and show you what I'm doing. And that is to zip them this way. So I turn it round. And repeat something similar. But I won't go through the eye this time. Now when you get that, just again, just touch it with your finger. Or you could use the colour shaper. That might be better. There you go. I think that's enough. Good. It looks good, doesn't it? These are the big ones, though. Now, these are the ones that go this way. I'll put that back again so you can see what I'm doing. Now, remember when I was doing this, I said, you're not going to see the whiskers unless we make that dark enough. Well, watch this. First of all, we do a test one. Like that. That works. A few more. Now bear in mind folks, I'm making this look easy. it isn't. There you go. I think that's probably all I want. Do I want any more? Again, you see, we've picked up a little bit of black. That happens when you go on top of the dark. It won't happen on the other side. But I like that. I think that looks good. Now, come the other way. Let's see if I can turn this round and show you how this works out. I'm doing it like this because I've got to go like that. And so let's get my natural angle for me. There we are, that's pretty good. Roll up your sleeves so you don't want to touch the animal. And then here we go. From there, you'll notice, you see if I can keep the lettering in there, you'll notice that I twist the pencil as I do it, like that. Woo, that went a bit far. Again, just touch it. Do I want any more? Well, I think we do need some down here. You can't see them very easy, but there'll be a few this way. I think that's fine. I didn't do any on the other side, did I? Let's do this. Just a few more here. Cats have an amazing amount, more than you think, more than I'm showing you here. But you've got to use a bit of artistic license. Now, I'm very happy with that. Let's turn it round. I think that's absolutely stunning, isn't it? Now, there's one thing left, signature. And this is a little bit of a dilemma when you get to sit. It's obvious where I'm going to put it there. But what colour do I use? Now, let's bring the colours in and show you. What colour would you use, folks? I'll give you a couple of seconds. Well, I'm going to use that one. It's a dark green. Anything darker would be too fierce. And it's always a good idea. I'm almost certainly going to cut this picture down a little bit. Not so much at the bottom, but maybe at the side. It's a bit too much green. So I'm going to put the signature here. Take the tail off of that. There we are. Finished. Well, there's the picture and the pencils. I hope that you enjoyed this. I certainly have. It's come up very well, and I'm sure that when you have a go at it, you'll find it not as hard as you think. Not easy, but then artwork isn't like that. But the way we do it, the way we produce our videos, we give you a line drawing, so it does help if you're not terribly good at drawing. And all the pencils and all the information's there. Take your time, but most of all, enjoy what you do. I'll look forward to seeing you again sometime. Bye for now.